In the packed Oval Office, Donald Trump smugly declared himself the rule of law, with Ivanka standing. But the moment Stephen Colbert stood up with a cold smile, the entire briefing exploded into a brutal showdown. What began as Trump's victory speech became his worst public humiliation as Colbert dropped the shocking bombshell that would destroy the Trump family forever. Barron's birth certificate listing Donald Trump as the father and Ivanka Trump as the mother. The Oval Office was packed tighter than usual on a warm Wednesday morning. President Trump strode in with that familiar swagger, his red tie straight and his chin high. Ivanka walked right beside him, tall and serious in her sharp suit. Trump stepped up to the podium, gripped both sides, and flashed that big, confident grin straight into the cameras. "Look, folks, I've made America great again like nobody else could," he said, his voice booming across the room. "I fixed every single problem, the economy, the borders, everything, and now, no one in the media dares criticize me anymore. I am the rule of law here. Got it?" The room went quiet for a second. Some reporters scribbled fast in their notebooks. Others just stared, waiting. Trump leaned forward, eyes intense. "This is your warning. Don't try misleading the people. We're done with the fake news games." Ivanka stood right next to him at the podium, her posture stiff like she owned the place. When she spoke, her voice came out cold and sharp, cutting through the air. "Anyone who doesn't follow this will face a ban and tough action," she said, scanning the crowd. "We won't tolerate it. Not today, not ever." Her words landed heavy. A few journalists shifted in their seats, exchanging quick glances. Trump nodded proudly beside her, like they were a team laying down the law. The tension in the room thickened fast. You could almost feel it in the air. Stephen Colbert sat quietly in the middle of the press section, legs crossed, just watching. He hadn't said a word yet. His face stayed calm, almost relaxed, but his eyes followed every move Trump and Ivanka made. The other reporters around him seemed nervous, but Colbert looked like he was waiting for the right moment. Trump pointed straight at the main camera, his finger jabbing the air. "I'm talking to all of you out there. Don't mess with the American people. We've got this country running smooth, and anyone who tries to twist things will regret it. I am the rule of law. Period." He paused, letting the words sink in, daring anyone to push back. The silence stretched. Cameras clicked non-stop. A couple of aides in the back looked uncomfortable, but nobody moved. Then Ivanka turned her head slowly and locked eyes with Colbert across the room. Her glare was pure warning, sharp, cold, and personal. Colbert didn't look away. Instead, the corners of his mouth turned up in a small, calm smile. Then Colbert stood up. He rose slowly from his seat in the middle of the press corps, calm as ever, and looked straight at the podium. Every camera swung toward him. Reporters held their breath. "Freedom of speech is a constitutional right, Mr. President," Colbert said, his voice steady and clear. "You can't just declare yourself the rule of law. That's not how America works. One man doesn't get to own the law." Trump smirked, leaning forward on the podium. "I am the rule of law here," he shot back, repeating it louder like it would make it true. "I am the rule of law. You got that?" Colbert didn't blink. He took one step forward and kept his tone even, but his words hit like punches. "Then explain this. When those Epstein files leaked, you pointed the finger at Iran to distract everyone. You used a foreign enemy as cover. That's not leadership. That's a con." The room went dead silent. Trump's smirk faded fast. Ivanka's eyes narrowed dangerously. "And let's talk about what's really happening right now," Colbert continued. "Deportations are exploding across the country. 60 to 73,000 people a day. Detention centers are packed. Quick removals with no real hearings. ICE is grabbing people at schools, churches, hospitals, even outside courthouses. Humanitarian parole and TPS protections are being ripped away from hundreds of thousands. Courts are fighting back, but fairness is disappearing. Americans are furious about it. Murmurs rippled through the reporters. Some scribbled furiously. Others stared in shock. Trump's face turned red, his jaw tight. Ivanka exploded. "Cops! Arrest him right now!" she shouted, pointing straight at Colbert. "He's spouting nonsense again! Get security in here!" 2 Secret Service agents moved forward immediately. The room tensed like a wire about to snap. Colbert raised his hand calmly, stopping them in their tracks without touching anyone. "If you arrest me today," he said, voice still calm but loud enough for every microphone, "the full evidence drops everywhere tomorrow. Every file, every email, every proof. It'll be all over the internet before you finish processing me." The agents froze. Trump raised his own hand sharply, signaling them to stop. For a split second, his eyes showed it. He realized he couldn't just muscle his way out of this on live cameras. Not yet. "Colbert, get out of here now!" Trump barked, his voice raw with anger. "Get him out!" But Colbert didn't move. He stayed right where he was, feet planted, eyes locked on the president. Then Colbert reached into his inside jacket pocket and pulled out a thick folder. He held it high, letting the cameras catch the official White House letterhead and the classified stamp. Every eye in the Oval Office locked onto those papers. "These aren't rumors," Colbert said, his voice steady and strong. "These are real internal emails from right here in the West Wing. A former senior aide who worked directly under you gave them to me, dated the exact day after the Epstein files leaked." He flipped open the top page and started reading loudly and clearly, so every microphone picked it up. "Use Iran as cover immediately. Leak through State Department channels. Push the foreign interference angle hard. Do not let this tie back to us under any circumstances. Make it go away." Colbert looked straight at Trump. "That's your signature at the bottom, Mr. President." The room exploded with gasps. Reporters leaned forward in their seats. Cameras flashed like crazy. Some journalists whispered, "Holy shit," under their breath, while others scribbled so fast their pens almost tore the paper. Trump's face turned deep red, veins popping on his forehead. "That's fake," he roared, slamming his fist down hard on the podium. "Complete bullshit. I never wrote that. This is a total witch hunt. Fake news at its worst." Ivanka's eyes burned with rage. She suddenly lunged forward from her spot beside her father, shoving an aide out of the way and reaching desperately for the papers in Colbert's hands. "Give those to me right now," she snapped, her voice sharp and high-pitched. Her fingers grabbed at the air, missing by inches. Colbert stepped smoothly to the side, keeping the documents safely out of her reach. He didn't raise his voice, but every word cut deep. "You just stood here and told the whole country you're the rule of law. So tell me, Mr. President, why are you covering up serious crimes? Why hide behind Iran when the Epstein files were about to blow everything open?" 2 Secret Service agents moved in fast, shoes squeaking on the polished floor. One of them put a heavy hand on Colbert's shoulder and started to push him back. The grip was strong and serious. Ivanka's face twisted with fury. "Take him down!" she screamed at the top of her lungs. "Right now! Get this clown out of here! Arrest him!" The second agent grabbed Colbert's other arm. The tension in the room shot through the roof. Reporters half stood from their chairs, not sure whether to keep filming or duck for cover. Trump's head snapped toward the agents, eyes wide with sudden panic. "Stop!" he yelled, his voice cracking louder than anyone expected. "Back off right now! Not here! Not on live cameras, damn it!" The agents froze instantly. The one holding Colbert's shoulder slowly let go. Colbert stayed planted right where he was, completely calm, and turned his head straight toward the main camera lens broadcasting live. "If any of you touch me again," he said clearly and slowly so the whole country could hear, "I will release the entire unredacted Epstein file immediately. Every name, every connection, every single detail. It drops in real time, right now." Trump's face went pale, almost gray. Sweat glistened on his forehead under the bright lights. For the first time that morning, the president looked truly rattled. He waved both hands wildly at the agents. "Back off! I said back the hell off! Now!" The Secret Service agents stepped back immediately, hands dropping to their sides. Colbert remained standing tall in the middle of the room, the folder still raised like a weapon. A small, confident smile tugged at the corner of his mouth. Then Colbert raised his hand again. He looked straight at Trump and Ivanka, his voice calm but deadly serious. "And here's the real reason you're hiding everything," he said. He reached into the same folder and pulled out a single sheet of paper, holding it high above his head so every camera in the room could see it clearly. "This is Barron's original birth certificate. Father, Donald J. Trump. Mother, Ivanka Trump." For a split second, the entire Oval Office went completely dead silent. No one moved. No one breathed. Then the room erupted. Trump's eyes bulged. "You got proof for that garbage?" he roared, his voice shaking with rage. "That's a fake! A disgusting, dirty fake!" Ivanka's face turned bright red, almost purple with fury. She stepped forward, fists clenched. "Security, get him out now!" she screamed at the top of her lungs. "Drag him out! He's lying! Get this bastard out of here!" Reporters were frozen in their seats, mouths open. Cameras zoomed in tight on the document. The flashbulbs went off like fireworks. Colbert stood perfectly still, holding the paper steady. Trump suddenly exploded from behind the podium. He lunged forward like a bull, reaching out with both hands to snatch and tear the birth certificate. "Give me that!" he shouted, face twisted in panic and anger. Colbert stepped back quickly, keeping the paper just out of reach. With his other hand, he pulled out a second copy and a small black USB drive. He held them both up high. "This is a scanned and notarized copy," Colbert said loudly, his voice cutting through the chaos. "It's already been verified by a journalist sitting right here in this room today. You tear up the original, and I release this one plus everything on this USB right now, live." The agents hesitated, looking back and forth between Trump and Colbert. The tension was suffocating. Then Ivanka, in her panic and rage, blurted out something she clearly never meant to say. Her voice cracked across the room before she could stop herself. "That certificate was supposed to stay buried." The words hung in the air like a bomb that had already gone off. Several reporters gasped out loud. One dropped his notebook. Trump whipped his head toward his daughter, eyes wide with shock and betrayal. Ivanka realized what she had just said and clapped a hand over her mouth, but it was too late. The microphones had caught every single word. The damage was done. Colbert didn't smile. He simply held the documents higher and looked directly into the main camera. The American people deserve the truth, and today they just got it. Trump stood there, breathing hard, hands still outstretched, face pale and sweating. Ivanka looked like she might faint, her perfect composure completely shattered. Then Trump spun toward the wall of reporters, his face flushed and sweating, his usual swagger completely gone. His voice came out shaky and desperate. "Do not report this," he barked, pointing at the cameras. "Prove you are patriots. Keep it quiet. This is all lies. Don't you dare put this on the air. I'm telling you right now, this is fake news." Ivanka leaned over to two aides standing behind the podium, whispering urgently. "Delete everything. Wipe the recordings. Kill the feeds if you have to. Do it now." The aides nodded quickly and started tapping on their phones, faces pale. Colbert raised his hand and pointed to a reporter sitting in the front row. "Sarah, stand up, please." A woman in a dark blue blazer rose slowly, looking nervous but determined. She was a well-known investigative journalist who had been invited to the briefing. "I was shown the original documents earlier today," she said, her voice steady as she faced the cameras. "I personally examined the signatures and the official state seal. They're authentic. This birth certificate is real." The room erupted in loud murmurs and flashes. Trump looked like he'd been punched in the gut. He turned sharply toward Ivanka, his hand trembling as he pointed at her. "Tell them it's fake, Ivanka," he pleaded, his voice cracking. "Tell them right now! Say it's all made up!" Ivanka's eyes went wide with panic. She stepped back, lost her balance, and nearly fell. She had to grab the edge of the podium to keep from collapsing. Her perfect hair was now messy, her face drained of color. She opened her mouth, but no words came out at first. Colbert didn't wait. He pulled another sheet from his folder and held it up along with the USB. "And here's the second bombshell," he said loudly. "This is an email Ivanka sent to Donald Trump back in 2006. It reads, 'Daddy, we need to handle the certificate quietly. Make sure no one ever connects the dots. Bury it deep.' I have the full chain, timestamps, and server records right here." The entire room exploded. Reporters jumped to their feet. Shouts and gasps filled the air. Cameras zoomed in frantically. One journalist yelled, "Holy shit!" loud enough for everyone to hear. Ivanka covered her face with both hands, shaking. Trump stood frozen, mouth open, looking between his daughter and Colbert like the world was crashing down around him. Security finally rushed forward, 4 agents moving fast toward Colbert, but he raised both hands and shouted directly into the nearest camera. "Everybody is live streaming this right now. Millions are already watching. You can't hide it anymore." The agents hesitated again, hands hovering but not grabbing him. Trump looked utterly lost. Ivanka clutched the podium tighter, her knuckles white, tears of rage and fear starting to form in her eyes. The Oval Office had turned into pure pandemonium. Trump stood behind the podium, breathing hard, trying to pull himself together. His tie was crooked, his face shiny with sweat. He gripped the edges of the podium so tightly his knuckles turned white. "This is all lies!" he shouted, but his voice cracked halfway through. It didn't sound strong anymore. It sounded broken. "Everything you just heard is fake news. Total garbage. Don't believe a word of it." Ivanka was shaking. Tears streamed down her face, mixing anger and panic. She stepped forward, voice cracking as she screamed, "He's destroying our family. This man is trying to ruin everything we've built. He's a liar." Her words came out raw and desperate. Reporters stared in stunned silence. Some kept filming. Others looked almost sorry for her. Colbert stood tall in the middle of the storm, completely calm. He looked Trump dead in the eyes and spoke clearly so every microphone caught it. "You can kick me out of this room, Mr. President," he said, "but you can't kick the truth out of history. The American people now know what's been hidden." With that, he stepped forward and dropped the small black USB drive right onto the podium in front of Trump. It landed with a loud click that echoed through the silent room. Trump stared at the USB like it was a live grenade. Then rage took over. He snatched it up, raised it high, and slammed it down onto the floor as hard as he could. The drive cracked and skidded across the polished wood. "You think this changes anything?" Trump yelled, his voice hoarse. Ivanka couldn't hold it together anymore. She stumbled backward and collapsed into a nearby chair, covering her face. Right in front of the still live microphone, she whispered in a broken voice, "Daddy, what have we done?" The words carried through the entire room and out to millions watching live. Gasps rippled everywhere. Sarah, the journalist from the front row who had verified the documents, stood up and turned straight to the main camera. "All of America just heard that," she said clearly. "Every word. This is real." Trump froze completely. His arms dropped to his sides. His eyes went blank, staring at nothing. The fight, the fire, the confidence. It was all gone. He just stood there like a man who finally realized the storm he created was now swallowing him whole. Ivanka sat slumped in the chair, sobbing quietly. Security agents looked at each other, unsure what to do. Aides whispered frantically into their earpieces. Then the tall doors of the Oval Office swung open. Bright camera flashes exploded from the hallway like lightning. Shouts and questions from the waiting press crowd poured in. "Mr. President! Is it true? What about Barron?" Trump didn't move. He just stood there, broken, as the chaos flooded in. The storm had only just begun,